Heal Yourself, Part 4, How Satan and Demonic Spirits Try to Turn You into Evil or Immoral. So the first few parts, right, as you guys can see, I'm talking more about morality versus immorality. And that's just going to be the first few parts. But going further, we'll talk about other just sort of general topics. I'm not really going to talk about this stuff throughout all the healing, guys. It's just that we have to talk about some of them so that you have a basic view on morality that I would like to share. So Satan uses many tricks, but mainly he uses the evil humans by making them surround you or enter your life under the guise of a friend, or the evil humans that are already around you as a child or adult, such as family you're born into, or your neighborhood or school, to twist you to immorality or evil as well, to make you into such a miserable and bitter human that he pushes into your heart hatred for others, where you are envious and jealous of their blessings or character. And now in your heart, you've committed the first step into evil, sin in your heart and mind of liking bad for others and wishing they didn't have what good they have, or wishing you had it instead. You have a choice to make. Your mind belongs to you. Your heart belongs to you. Only you choose if you want to be this hate or be love, aka moral, instead, where you are filled with mercy, joy, appreciation, respect, kindness, compassion in your heart. The heart determines the mind's decision. So guard your heart from Satan and these demons that work for him. Don't let an ounce of envy, jealousy, hatred enter your heart. Then evil qualities like sexism, perversion, racism, arrogance, entitlement cannot enter your mind when demonic spirits send them to your mind, whether loud or softer voices you feel or hear. Thoughts without voices, intrusive images, something that feels like emotion coming over you, which is just energy, because demons cannot create feelings as only God Almighty can create feelings, etc. Once you reject, right, these thoughts and sort of energies they project you that feel like feelings, they can't form into evil characteristic traits into you or in you of being a person with hatred filling their heart, whether you are covert and act fake friendly with others, right, which is like billions of human beings right now. The majority of the human race is just covert. Hi, everyone's just walking around. They're evil. You don't know what they do to their kids. You don't know what they're doing to their family members. You don't know what they're doing to their spouses. And victims don't come out and express what happened to them sometimes until adulthood. So that's why there's so much evil in the world, but you don't necessarily think that way because no one is saying what's happening to them. Victims mostly go in the other direction. I would say 90% of not saying anything and actually becoming evil themselves, which is why then generation to generation that evil doesn't stop. You get me? They do it to their kids, etc. Well, the small majority, right, like that 10%, right, I divide them into 5 and 5. One, right, the first 5%, they allow themselves to be abused, but then they get out of the situation and report it and become okay people. I don't, it depends if they really become moral, right? But they become okay people, and some might become moral. Well, the other 5% are strong, right? Only little minor things they couldn't control because they were kids might happen, but you can't, do highly evil things to them like rape or things like that. They'll kill you or fight with you. So they're gonna be the strong creation that if they were born into abusive situations, you can't do anything to them. You get me? You just might abuse them emotionally or psychologically because you can't. They're strong. So they're gonna be the ones that get out of that situation or that family and now be an example of what a moral human truly is, right? Someone who's really strong. It just means you're strong. You're strong in your heart. You're strong in your mind. You're strong in how you view yourself, right? You honor yourself. You honor others. You hate evil. You fight against it. You stop it. You support others. You protect others. You want punishment for criminals, but you don't want them to be punished more than they need to, etc. You're just, okay? So many of you I'm talking to have already failed this first step. You've accepted that evil thought telling you to like hurting or harming others, or yourself, as well as hating God Almighty. You've accepted that evil thought into your mind. Hurt doesn't just mean physical. It's any way you desire to make a human not feel good or happy about themselves or less in himself or herself, such as you targeting how they feel by taking sneaky, rude, or disrespectful remarks at them to hurt their self-esteem or feelings, or trying to manipulate or gaslight them or their self-worth, or talking bad about them with others. Okay? It doesn't have to be physical. You're still evil. You're hurting people like this. Whether you're currently demonically possessed, right? Or just being mentally oppressed by demons to be this evil way, you're the one that has power, because it's you who chose to listen to their whispers into your ears, where it enters your mind as thoughts and then influences your behavior and character. Or you choose to disagree and hate those thoughts with all your heart and make your mind reject it. Now clearing the control demons had over you by your permission, right, in the beginning. Now you're clearing that, where you now clearing that control the demon had over you by your permission, where you used to listen to them and acted upon whatever evil feeling or thought they put over you. If now you rejected these thoughts and feelings, the demon is not going to just go away. The demon will try to attack you even more to gain the same level or higher level of control over your mind and heart again. Okay, they're very obsessed. Okay, demons are very obsessive, because they cannot handle the fact that you might go to paradise and they'll go to hell without you. Okay, they need to take as many as they can. So how they gain control and change your heart, meaning demons, is by talking to your mind. The real battle is spiritual and not physical, and it's happening in your mind. So you, because you can't see demons, right? They can only whisper to you, and it goes to your mind. So you trying to fight off drugs, right? Or promiscuity or sexism, it won't work, as you're not going to where these sins, right? These are sins, right? These sins, you're not going to where they formed. These evils in your heart, or I'm sorry, these evils in you as a person, they formed once you lost the battle in your mind, okay, which then destroyed your heart or changed your heart. The invitation to like these sins or evils came to your mind, not your heart, right? You first had thoughts or sort of mental, awareness of what it was telling you to do. Once you accepted them in your mind, it formed darkness in your heart. So change your heart by hating or feeling the emotion of hatred to all things hurting, abusing, controlling, objectifying, limiting, sabotaging, stealing from any of God Almighty's creation, whether humans, animals, yourself, the earth, the natures and beauty God Almighty created, and other things, etc. Anything that seeks to hurt, I didn't say harm, seeks to hurt emotionally, psychologically, and now physically, right? Verbally, you feel in your heart how evil this is and hate it with all your heart and see the illogic it is in your mind, because it's illogical, and never step close to those who do any of these sins, and always defend yourself and others against these sins that hurt, harm, and dishonor the creation of God Almighty. Always advise and call people away from this evil heart and be a good influence, and this also strengthens you, right? Whatever you spend all your time on, that's technically what you become. Okay, so not just on a mental level, what you dwell on, but what you do with your time, right? Okay, so imagine spending your life maybe being a good influence to your environment or the friends you had. Like some of them, you're gonna have to cut them off because they're not gonna listen and they're gonna be bad influence on you. But let's say people actually are listening or whatever. Always reminding them to be good, right, and fair and just, and not be envious and hateful and harm or whatever, and not be unhealthy in other ways. Now that strengthens you, because you get to hear that dialogue all the time in your head, right? When you speak out loud, don't you hear in your head? So it's like replacing the dialogue demons do to your mind. I call it a narration because it never shuts up. If you go in your head, the thoughts don't stop. The only reason you think thoughts come once in a while is because you're not in your head all the time. You get out at some point. Okay, but go into your mind. It's endless. That chatter is not gonna stop. Only God knows if they're using some magic to talk so much, because there's no way demons have the power to talk 24/7. Just because they're supernatural doesn't mean they don't stop and get tired, obviously. So it might be some sort of magic or something they're using that repeats their thoughts nonstop, Only God knows how the thoughts are constantly going. But if you go into your head, those evil thoughts or just simply those bad thoughts, right? Sometimes they're not telling you to do bad things because you're not an immoral person, but you're just a regular human and you're going to get negative thoughts all the time, right? About yourself, the situations, the people around you, everything's negative, oh, you're gonna fail, blah blah blah. All these depressing thoughts, they never stop, correct? Okay, then we don't know what they're doing as demons to make it that, way. Only God knows. We don't want to obsess over things we don't have knowledge of. So because it never stops, you always talking about good, always spreading good, and I mean not good like just being nice. I mean like going against evil, right? You're inspiring people to not be evil to each other and others and to themselves, and lead healthy lives where they're not doing subsistence and all that stuff to themselves as self-harm. Now you're always hearing your own voice, right? What you say, what you write, what you share, it's going to take over your mind. Your mind has all that new data now, right? And it replaces or takes off the demonic data that was in your head all the time, right? It doesn't stop, obviously. So that's why it's good to out loud, right? Advise others, influence others to be moral, because you're saying things out loud and not to yourself, only in your head. And hearing that constant loud voice that you're hearing will now help you to hear what you used to say throughout that day as you go to sleep that night, right? Instead of either evil thoughts that were just following you around as you sleep that night. So that's how it would strengthen you. And it also strengthen you because as you're explaining why something is bad, maybe you were struggling with it too, right? Like because I would use the word struggle for things that are not evil but just tempting. Well, evil is not tempting, right? You just are evil, you just want to do that. But things that you are not, I'm not going to use the word tempting, things that you are um, dwelling in, right? Like let's say drugs or smoking, constantly talking about how bad it is now. You get to be like, wait a minute. You get to feel dumb every time you don't fight off those thoughts telling you to do it. Because you're expecting these people to listen to that wisdom, right? Now you're going to start to get stronger and be like, well, I should too. And you're going to not be stronger. You're going to not fight it off even more. And those people will be like a accountability for you too. Maybe your friends. When you're getting thoughts to do it and it's so heavy, okay, you can call each other. And they'll now advise you back because you taught them all this good, or you both chose to talk about it. You can be that sort of guide for each other to fight these unhealthy lifestyle habits. That's what we have to always do that as human beings. We have to always spread morality and talk about good things, right? There's certain things that they call morality, obviously, that are evil. And that's really where things get ugly. But I'm talking about the basics of morality that all human beings agree on. We have to constantly spread that because it strengthens you when you talk about it, not just others. So for those who would say they're good-hearted, but you use toxic things like drugs to numb yourself, since demons have access to you if you use drugs, and they have possessed many humans after they use drugs, um, they were already dwelling in other higher sins like perversion, so that's actually why they got possessed. But the drugs just gave the demon that sort of extra leverage he really needed, or it really needed to, just possess this person. Because he really just went into a different realm. They twist their reality, their mind, they're just hurting their body, their mind so much. And it's such a huge sin, because think about it. You're hurting your body with drugs, aren't you? You're actually self-harming. Okay, so if you self-harm, it's just like if you harm others, technically. I mean, suicide is subjective, right? You're not really harming yourself if you're choosing to kill yourself over someone trying to rape you. I'm up for that because rape is the highest evil God created. If you don't want to put up a fight with that, I don't care if you kill yourself. You're not actually killing yourself. You're just protecting yourself from that filth. But I'm talking about things where you're hurting the body, okay? Like you are just subjugating it to abuse for no reason, right? Drugs, there's no reason that would ever be good. Like I just explained with suicide. It's not subjective. You're just hurting it. Okay, so it's evil in that sense. Um, in the demons, that's not the reason they would possess, right? You have to become evil at heart to get possessed. But they'll have that sort of extra advantage now to just take over, okay? Or just oppress you because you're going into this realm where you're seeing weird things. And they're the ones doing that mostly. Okay, so they can oppress you, not possess you. And then at some point, right, they try to increase you in sin in immorality, and then they'll possess you. Okay, so it's just that thing that helps demons to possess you. But only God knows if it's actually 100% possible to get possessed just from using drugs. Only He knows. But I don't believe that because I just told you, you have to be an evil person to get possessed. Okay? It doesn't mean you've done things like killing someone. You just have to be an evil-hearted person. Okay, so you cannot get possessed just by using drugs. Okay? So since demons have access to you if you use drugs, and they have possessed many humans after they use drugs, it's unlikely your heart is clean because you're self-harming with substances and bad things. Thus, a certain percentage of hate or envy or anger is in your heart that is fueling this desire to use these substances or toxic lifestyles of other kinds. So you need to cleanse too, right? You who's saying you're not a bad person, but you have bad things like drugs in your system. Okay, you need to cleanse too. Not just the immoral human has to cleanse, you have to cleanse too. Because you have some bad emotion like envy, hatred. Something is wrong, okay? That's fueling your desire to do this. Because you're hurting yourself instead of seeking to go resolve what's wrong. And maybe, right, you don't have those emotions in you. Either way, you have to cleanse from this demonic influence that's pushing you emotionally and mentally to behave this way, and maybe also reject help too if it ever was offered to you, right? The demonic influence was pushing you away from that if help was ever offered to you. So in the future healing guides, I'll go into how to pour out the emotions such as hatred, envy, anger you feel, or the emotions of hurt you feel that is creating so much anger that you self-harm with substances and addictions. Slowly stay with me and use these guides to heal yourself. But first I started, these parts to help you understand what you're dealing with that's causing the abuses, traumas, evils, crimes in the world that led you to your trauma, right? That you try to numb with reckless behaviors and substances. It's demonic spirits that are behind it all and are the perpetrators and predators abusing you through evil humans they possess or just convinced to do evil initially, right? Or by these demonic spirits setting you up for bad situations. Like sabotaging your blessings like a romantic love, they ruined it. And heartbreak now forms, okay? Or they use evil humans to get you wrongfully fired from your job or evicted from your home. Or you help others or call others away from their wickedness like perversions and sexism or racism. Or you defended someone from abuse or called out abuse, but you got retaliated against and persecuted. So demons are causing all these things. For those of you who are healthy and not using bad behaviors and substances, but you're in extreme emotional pain from past trauma of non-evil causes, right, such as normal things like heartbreak or natural calamities ruining your life or death of a loved one, etc., I'll share the guides just for you in specific categorized labels so you know which article to read. But you can read other articles to increase yourself in knowledge and understanding of the psychology of evil versus good.